It was the spring of 2020. Streets were silent, schools were empty, and an eerie stillness hung over nearly every town in the United Kingdom. The world had shut down. During those first months of lockdown, everyone was isolated, cut off from the familiar rhythm of life. But for some, that isolation didn't just bring loneliness, it brought something far darker. In the quiet coastal community of Saltdean, East Sussex, a 16-year-old boy named Owen Harding lived with his mother, Stella. To most people who knew him, Owen was just like any other teenager, smart, creative, and full of energy. He loved drawing, playing guitar, and spending time outdoors, especially near the cliffs overlooking the English Channel. He was close with his friends and had a girlfriend who lived hundreds of miles away, in York. They met before the lockdown, and as travel restrictions grew tighter, the distance between them became unbearable. The world was already on pause, and for Owen, that separation felt like an invisible wall closing in. Throughout March, like millions of others, Owen was struggling with the monotony of lockdown life. Days blurred together, conversations were shorter, tempers shorter still. His mother recalled that he seemed quiet, not unhappy, but restless, like he was carrying something heavy that he couldn't put into words. Then, on the evening of March 26, everything changed. It began like any ordinary evening. The sun was starting to dip, casting an orange glow over the coastal hills. Stella remembered hearing Owen in his room, music playing softly in the background. Then a disagreement. Nothing unusual, just the kind of argument that happens between a parent and a teenager who's had enough of being stuck inside. But this time, the tone was different. Something in the air shifted. After the argument, Owen left the house. No jacket, no bag, not even his wallet, just his phone in his pocket. He stepped out the door and never came back. At first, Stella didn't panic. She thought he needed to cool off, maybe walk to the beach for some fresh air. But when the hours began to pass and the sun disappeared behind the horizon, the uneasy silence in the house grew deafening. She called his phone, no answer. Sent messages, no reply. By 10 p.m., worry had turned to fear. His phone had gone offline at around 6:23 p.m., and no one had seen or heard from him since. The next morning, police were notified, and the search for Owen Harding began. At first, the search focused around Saltdean, the small seaside town where Owen lived. Officers walked the streets, knocked on doors, and asked neighbors if they'd seen a tall teenage boy with dark hair and a slim build. Some thought they might have caught a glimpse of him earlier that evening, heading down the road toward the cliffs. But no one could be sure. There were no clear witnesses, no solid leads. Then, police obtained CCTV footage from around the neighborhood, and what they found would become the last confirmed sighting of Owen Harding. At approximately 6:50 p.m., cameras captured a figure resembling Owen walking along a street called Banning's Vale. The footage was grainy and distant, but investigators believed it was him. The direction he was walking led toward the cliffs overlooking the sea. From there, the trail went cold. Search teams combed the area. Helicopters scanned the coastline with infrared cameras. The Coast Guard conducted sea searches, while local volunteers scoured footpaths and fields. Despite the efforts, not a single trace of Owen was found. No clothing, no footprints, no belongings. Days passed, then weeks, and the world outside continued to remain locked indoors, watching this story unfold on screens and newspapers. Who was Owen Harding, and how could someone vanish so completely, in such a small, quiet place? To understand the mystery, we have to step back to the weeks before his disappearance. Friends say Owen had been struggling emotionally during lockdown. He missed his girlfriend deeply. They spoke almost every day, and at times, he expressed frustration about being unable to see her. One friend later told police that Owen had once mentioned wanting to walk all the way to York to see her, a journey of nearly 250 miles. It sounded impossible, maybe even a joke, but it would later become one of the theories investigators couldn't ignore. There were no clear signs that Owen intended to run away, though. He hadn't packed a bag or made any social media posts suggesting a plan. His relationship with his mother, while occasionally tense, was loving. By all accounts, he was a happy, grounded teenager, not someone preparing to disappear. Yet the evidence pointed to something deliberate. He walked out of the house and kept going, straight toward the cliffs. The cliffs at Saltdean are breathtaking, towering white chalk walls overlooking the vast expanse of the English Channel. Locals often walk the paths there at sunset. It's peaceful, serene, but also dangerous. The police feared the worst. If Owen had reached that area and something happened near the edge, the tides could have swept away any trace in minutes. But there were problems with that theory. For one, the timestamps didn't align neatly. His phone went offline at 6:23 p.m., yet CCTV placed him at Banning's Vale at 6:50 p.m., nearly half an hour later. How could that be? Did his phone die, or was it turned off intentionally? That single question became the heart of the mystery. The community of Saltdean responded. Hundreds of volunteers, friends, neighbors, even strangers joined in socially distant searches. Posters with Owen's photo appeared on lampposts, bus stops, and shop windows. The phrase, "Find Owen Harding," spread across social media. But as days turned to weeks, hope began to fade. Police followed every possible lead. They checked train stations, bus routes, and motorway cameras. They investigated reports of possible sightings, but each one eventually led nowhere. There was no sign of a boy walking north toward York, no activity on his bank account, no further digital footprint. It was as though Owen had stepped into the night and simply ceased to exist. By the end of April, official searches began to wind down, but Stella refused to give up. She continued organizing her own searches, walking the coastal paths every evening. Friends said she would sit near the cliffs at sunset, staring out at the horizon, whispering her son's name. The media coverage grew quieter, but the mystery remained. How could a 16-year-old vanish so completely in a place so small, with so many eyes watching? Some believed Owen had fallen from the cliffs accidentally. Others wondered if he had chosen to disappear, perhaps overwhelmed, lost in his thoughts, needing an escape from the pressure of lockdown life. But to those who knew him, that didn't make sense. Owen was planning for the future. He talked about seeing his girlfriend again, going back to school, even traveling once restrictions lifted. He wasn't someone who wanted to disappear, at least, not forever. The search for answers has continued for years. Despite new technology, sonar scans of the coastline, and renewed public appeals, there have been no confirmed discoveries. His body has never been found. His phone has never been recovered, and no new evidence has ever surfaced to explain what really happened that evening in March 2020. For Stella, every anniversary is a painful reminder of that night. She said in interviews that not knowing is the hardest part, that even the worst truth would be easier than endless uncertainty. "I wake up every morning hoping for a call, a clue, anything," she once said, "but every day ends the same, with silence." Today, Owen Harding's disappearance remains one of the most haunting, unsolved cases of the COVID-19 lockdown period. His story became a symbol of how isolation, emotional distance, and a single argument can ripple into tragedy. Perhaps Owen simply needed space to clear his mind, to find peace by the sea. Maybe he intended to come home. Maybe he never got the chance. Whatever the truth is, it's still out there, hidden somewhere between the fading light of that March evening and the roaring waves below the cliffs of Saltdean. Sometimes the smallest conversation can change everything. And for Owen Harding's family, one hope remains constant: that someday, someone will come forward and the silence will finally end.